right, let's do it.
Hi, everybody. Happy Wednesday. Welcome to the Sisters Interview. Tonight we have Viscount Oak Einar from Thierry, and we're super excited to have him. He's a Lion of Antir, a Knight, a Pelican, and he was the first and 28th Prince of Thierry. And to start us off tonight, Rivkin is going to do a little bardic.
So this is a poem by Petro Rosvardo called Odinkin, and I'm going to do my best to do it justice. Scald needs told from the north, raise fires high, so ravens see. Spread coal wings, glide through glen, hear the song of Odinkin. Strength of oak, cunning of boar, by his blade he leads the children, sheltering oak, battling boar. Hear ye children the ringing blade, Einar he be, Norseman, champion, Guntherson, sweet Thor's pride, young slayer's god, this treasure, this provider, brave when Viking, raids bode well, flee or die, opponent's choice, lighting of sword and of shield, thrall or jarl, deep bites the blade, twice knighted in foreign lands, kingmaker, duke breaker, he be bearer of silver roses, and wars not easily counted, Einar striplings, warriors bold, the mighty jarl, Death's white wings, the griffin's claw, is sword to fly, Norse iron bender. Warden of North, outland islander, fast as serpent, the mighty bear, Thor's chosen. Great are the ones following Einar, rowing for him, fighting for him. On he strides, victory, honor, on he strides, reaver, chieftain, yet Ragnarok come, soon enough, Ragnarok come. To frost giants' glee he will stand, no fear of foe. Deep bites the blade, giants will fall. And if Odin calls, he will go to take his seat as Odinkin. So that's it. It's a very, very cool Viking poem.
Yeah, Petro was my squire, but before he was Thorvald's squire, and he gave him that challenge to write a Norse poem on his own, and that's what he came up with, and it's probably the best gift I've ever been given,
Definitely, it's just so personal and so moving.
So why don't you go ahead and start us off with how you found the SCA and what made you fall in love with it?
Okay. As a kid, my brothers and I would roll up newspapers and turn them into swords and beat each other up all the time with it. And I had heard of the SCA, but I didn't have a clue where to find it at all. And I used to play sports continuously. I went from football to rugby to lacrosse, sort of in rotation. But as I got older, the football ended, and then in lacrosse, I broke my elbow when I was 20 and had the radius head removed. So we only really have half an elbow on my right side. And so that ended my lacrosse was now over. And then I broke my ankle playing rugby. I broke it in 3 places, dislocated it and tore all the tendons. The only thing kept it to my foot was the skin. So that pretty much ended rugby now. So one day I was walking through a park and I came across these guys in armor and they were beating the crap out of each other. I went, wow, that's pretty cool. And I watched that for about half an hour. And then they finally asked me if I had any questions. And I said, yeah, does it hurt? And they said, well, here. And they took a helmet off, put it on my head and hit me a couple times. And I said, oh, that was great. And he said, so you want to really have fun? And he took the helmet back, put it on his head and gave me the sword and let me hit him a few times, and that was it. I was hooked. And that was actually talking with Mark de Gockler. And he said, well, if you like this, you should really come out next week because next Saturday, this was on a Sunday, and he goes, next Saturday, we're having Daffodil, and you should come out and see that because we've got people coming from Portland and Seattle and Calgary, and this is the one time a year that we get something big over here, so you should really come out to that if you like it. So I said, oh, great. Can I fight? And he said, well, you could, but you kind of have to have your own armor. And I said, well, what do I need? And so they gave me a little list, and he drew up showed me a pattern out of a book, a really small pattern that I had to blow up, and for a great helm. And so I went home that night and started making plans and gathered up all my lacrosse gear together and patched it up a little bit for some body armor and some arms and then I went to a welder and got this helmet made up. We made a cardboard cutout first, but um, I didn't understand what I was really trying to do, and I've never done anything like that. And so the cardboard, layout was way bigger than I needed. It was, I thought they told me I needed an inch of padding, so I measured my head and did some math, not very well, and came up with this monster helmet. And so I went down to this sheet metal fabricator, and he built me a helmet in 3 days. And I came home and painted it, and then on Thursday night, I picked it up on Thursday night and painted it, and then on Friday I started putting foam in it, and the helmet was very large. Uh, it was humongous, to be honest. And so, anyways, I started putting foam in it, and I ran out of a roll of blue foam, so I went and got a second roll. And then quickly at just before they closed at 10 o'clock at night, I managed to get the third roll of foam, which I needed to finish filling it out. And so at 4 o'clock that morning, I was finished gluing it together, and they told me the event opened at 9:30. So I didn't want to be late, so I got there at 9. And the autocrat showed up at 10. And then finally, about 11 o'clock, we finally started putting armor on, and I had all my armor complete. The only thing I didn't have was a sword, and Mark told me, no problem, I can bring you a spare sword, so he bought me a sword because I didn't know where to get rattan, but other than that, I was all set. And it was really bad and really ugly, but it was all got put together in a week. And so then I was getting all excited and ready to fight, and I go out there and I armored up, and in my armor was I made a canvas coat to hide a lot of the stuff. And also it's where I attach Lexan plates to my thighs for my thigh armor. And it had a huge giant tent zipper in the back. So I put my armor on and have to get someone to zip me up. So I go out there and they said, "Are you qualified?" And I went, "What's that?" And they said, "Oh, then you're not qualified, So they started, giving me some lessons, um, and during the lessons, they were trying to get me to punch with my shield, and it was a strap-on round shield, so you have to punch block with that. But only people I've ever seen fight were holding heaters, so I was holding it in front of me like a heater and punching out with that. And so the two people qualified me was person actually doing the qualification was Sir Seamus Peacemaker, now known as Duke Thorn, and the Baby Knight. And the Baby Knight was Duke Torgal. So, anyways, he was the one doing the fighting with me, and I kept punching out with my shield, but from a heater position. And so he kept warning me that no, you can't punch me with your shield. You have to. But so I wouldn't punch him, and then I said, no, you have to block the shots. And they were trying to show me how to block the shots by punching out, but I was punching out from the wrong position. So I'm not sure, but I got the impression, I think I made Torgo starting to get annoyed with me, and I didn't know him at all. And so anyways, it was time now to fight for the first fight. So he throws his first leg shot, and the first leg shot, I stepped away, and this coat just floats in front of me. So he hits coat, but doesn't touch me, but he hits a big mass in front of me. And the next time he threw a leg shot, I was stepping forward, so the plates were against my leg, and it landed on my leg, and I think my eyeballs popped out of my helmet. It was like, oh, I didn't expect that. That the armor didn't really help at that point. And then so I go to my knees, and then he threw a nice combination shot, and it wasn't excessive. It wasn't, but it left 3 dents in my helmet, 3 stripes. They were about an inch deep and about 6 inches long. The helmet, because it was so large, and I actually have a picture of, we had a picture somewhere, I couldn't find it, but it was 2 squires with their heads inside the helmet at the same time. So it was big enough for 2 heads.
Like one of those old diving helmets.
Anyways, yes, and because it was so round, so large, there wasn't enough curve to it, so it dented really easy. So, anyways, the king of the time was Duke Montfort. He was the first king of Antir, and he was one of our better armors at the time. And he called a hold to see my helmet, so because he wasn't sure what it was made of, because it looked like it was made out of tinfoil, the way it was denting. So he took a look at it and said, no, no, it's good. It's 16 gauge steel. And he actually even made U channel for it and capped all the edges. So he also, there was no sharp edges and that kind of stuff. So he said it was really well put together. But I didn't even need the helmet. The foam was good enough because I had 3 rolls of blue foam over my head. So anyways, I didn't qualify. So I couldn't fight. So I went in and started taking my armor off, and that's when I met Sir Gerhard. And Gerhard came up to me and said, "What are you doing?" I said, "Well, I didn't qualify." And he goes, "Oh, but you can fight challenges, can't you?" And I went, "I don't know." He goes, "Put your armor back on." So I go back out there, and I get to fight all the challenge fights. So they say, okay. So Gerhard said, okay, you don't have anybody over here really to fight that often, so fight as much and everybody you can from as far away as you can, all you can. So he says, right now, when the tournament's starting, there won't be as many people to fight, but between rounds, as people get knocked out, there'll be lots of people to fight. So anyways, I'm waiting for for the first round to end, and hoping there might be a fight or two that I could pick up. And in those days, we didn't fight the king. You would never raise a sword against the king at that time. So Montfort, being bored, he sitting in his armor, but he sort of stood up and disappeared behind the thrones, put on a brand new helmet that nobody had seen, and out steps El Paladin, taking all challenges. So I'm all excited. So I go and I'm fighting this guy, and the week beforehand they showed me how to throw a snap. So they showed me a snap, and a right cross, and a wrap, and a teardrop. So anyways, I go out there and I throw my snap, and that didn't work. And I throw my wrap, and that didn't work. And tried a right cross, that didn't work. And he hit me in the leg, so I had dropped down to my knees. And then I threw that snap again, and that didn't work. And then I did that wrap again, and that didn't work. And right cross, nope, that didn't work. And then the teardrop, and it worked. And all of a sudden, I killed Montfort, and it was like, not like he couldn't kill me at any time he wanted to. There was no defense at all, but I did get past his defense, and down he goes, and on the way down, he throws a snap back at me, and double kills, so we got to refight, and then he kills me again. But anyways, that was my first fight, and then I got to, they said, well, you killed the king in this first fight, your very first fight you ever had. So that got me all enthusiastic. I was really, really into it, and I had invited 5 of my friends, to the event as well, and they said, don't worry about gear. We have, costumes. We have that for you. We can set you up with costumes. And so they had gold key there, but they didn't have anything that I could even squeeze into. Everything was too small, so they had to get the rest of it, and the rest of it was kept at Calfalchon, who actually just passed away a few weeks ago. Anyways, he kept the spare gold key and his underneath his porch where the cats kind of live a lot. So he brought out this outfit that was, where the cats had been, and you could tell it really reeked really badly, but I'm still enthusiastic. I'm sticking around. And the outfit they brought out for me that fit was a converted Santa Claus outfit. It was all red pants, red jacket, white fur trim, big black belt. One thing I didn't have was the hat and the mustache, or the fake beard. But other than that, I had a Santa Claus outfit on for my first outfit. And then we had the feast, and that feast was just horrible, but it didn't matter. By that point, I was hooked. And from then on, I was just kept going to every event. And then, but on the island, there's not that many events, so you had to travel as much as you could. And then May came around, and this was in February, and May came around, and everybody was going to travel, to about a 4-hour drive away. You actually take a ferry trip, you about a 4-hour drive to a Crown. I went, 4 hours just for the weekend? That's a long ways to go. Forget that. I won't do that. And so that was my first mistake. I didn't know to go to Crown. And so the next one in September, I was there, and that one was in Southern Oregon. But I was also there with my wife, who had just given birth. We had a baby that was barely a month old, barely, and so anyways, we were quite the novelty back in those days. There weren't too many, there weren't that many couples, to be honest. It was, mostly university groups, singles. But we were a couple, and we had, and we had a baby, and that was, unusual again. And so the ladies invited us over to sit where they were all sitting. And that weekend, Morag, who was the first queen, was divorcing Montfort, and they were having their medieval divorce. So they were, jumping backwards over the sword and spitting beer back into the beer, and into spitting the beer back into the cup, and and so they come set with him. So anyways, I go up for my first fight, and I had a challenge to somebody, and I didn't know any knights. Being from the island, we didn't have any knights. The only one I really knew was Gerhardt. 'Cause we talked to him a little bit at that first event. So I went over and challenged Gerhardt, and during the fight, we had he called a hold, and we had to wait until the end of the fight to continue it. It turns out I broke his thumb, so we had to go back for the second, to continue it afterwards, and then he killed me, even with a broken thumb kind of thing. And then the next fight I got was against Walford. And so I was going out there, I was hanging out with where Morag was, and she says, "Oh, he's a sucker for a headshot," and gave me advice as I go out my field. And Montford didn't fight with his glasses on, and he was fairly, he didn't have much depth perception kind of stuff. And so out of blind luck on my behalf, I went out there and I did a little wind up shot first before he threw the shot. And as soon as I wound up a little bit, he swung, and he was fighting with a mace, and he was quite short and out of range. And then when my wind up shot came in, I caught Montford. So anyways, in front of all the ladies, they all scream and cheer and like, "Oh," and so basically I one-shotted Montford in my my first round there. So that was pretty good. And the next round after that, I got Robert McFlandry, and Robert was Duncan's big brother. And I have no idea what he weighed, but he was huge. And he was, he seemed to me, I don't know how tall he was, but he looked like he was about 6'8". And he fought with a two-handed sword. And I've never fought anybody with a two-handed sword at that point. It was like terrifying. So I went rushing in on him, kind of scared, and got him close. And I hit him in the thigh, and it gave him a Charlie horse. And he dropped his sword and hung on to me and went, "I yield," as he was having his cramps in his legs. So that was, got me to the next round. So now into the fourth round, and that weekend, I've had a really good weekend to go there for crown. They knighted the tallest knight of Arntier and the shortest knight of Arntier the same weekend. And that weekend, Garen Darkwolf got knighted at the same time as Wolfric. So anyways, I drew Garen Darkwolf, and we introduced each other, before we were looking at the list, and he says, "Okay." And we're heading over to the, hang on, the computer state will be charging too. Aaron.
You don't want the computer to die.
Yeah, I'm thinking I'm running out of power, Aaron. So yeah, she's gonna give me some power, I guess.
So it was 1981 when you started. Oh, we lost him. Oh no. Well,
Get him back.
Yeah, we'll wait a little bit and get him back.
So
Anyway.
while we wait,
So Rifkin, you have how many more Dukes left? 7?
I think I have 7. Yeah. And I have 6 of them scheduled. So I'm in talks with a couple others, and we'll get them scheduled. And then after January, I'll be doing something else. Yeah, it's exciting. And it's, 93 Dukes, a lot of Dukes to talk to.
That is.
Yeah.
That is quite a milestone.
Yeah.
So who do you have left?
Who do I have left? Oh, that's a very good question. I'm going to interview Stareth from the Outlands next week. And then we have, what's his name? Arthur of Lockhaven. And then Rorik from the Outlands. Duke Fabian from the West. Hopefully maybe Duke Connor from the West. And Duke Sven from Ontario. Oh, and here comes Oak.
Good thing, because Eduardo was threatening to tell stories on him.
I gotta admit them. Sorry.
Somebody wants to know who will be number 100.
I am shooting for His Grace Duke Sven to be number 100 because he is my consort. So I'll end with the guy I fight for. Are you back? Can we hear you?
Not yet. He's connecting to audio. Thanks everyone for.
Okay, there we go.
Here we go.
I'm sorry. Apparently, I have to move the mouse every so often.
There we go.
Yeah.
Technology is awesome.
Yeah.
So we were in like the fourth round of Crown.
Fourth round. I went to the fourth round of Crown, and I drew Garen, and he was thinking I was, he went up and talked to me and said, "Oh, how long you been fighting?" I went, 6 months or 8 months, I think. And he goes, "Oh, okay, great." And then he told his friend, "Oh boy, fresh meat," and his friend says, "No, he just took out Montford. You better be careful." And he came at me, so he said, "Oh," and he put down his shield and grabbed his other sword and came at me, Florentine. I didn't know that was legal, but that's what he did. And yeah, it made short work of me pretty quick. So anyways, I got revenge with him. Well, not revenge, but the following Daffodil, I broke my sword the week beforehand, so I had to make a mace. I didn't, because rattan was hard to get a hold of. And my mom and dad had never seen me fight, so they came out to watch. And the tournament was supposed to start at 1:00, and so they came out, and it was 2:00 and it hadn't started yet, and it was 2:30 and it hadn't started yet. And my mom said, "We got to go. I've got dinner to go to." I mean, she had to go to work, and so I went up to the list table and said, "I'm not asking for any favors. I'm just saying, I'm not saying who to fight, but can I have the first fight? Whoever you give me, can I just be the first fight? Because they're heading out here pretty quick." And they squeezed that in, so I ended up fighting for Garen, but they were actually said, "No, it's taking too long," and they were leaving, and they finally called, and so they stopped. So anyways, they said, "Okay," and they get started. And I don't know if this is true, but this is what I believe to be true, and it was the story I tell. The marshals came together and said, "Are you ready?" And I said yes and yes, and then they said, "Lay on," and click the staffs. But as soon as they say lay on, I started coming. I didn't, because mom and dad were leaving. I didn't have time to wait. So they were still stepping together and clicking their staffs together as I was ducking underneath them to go through the staffs. And then I was on top of Garen before he even had a chance to, like they would go, to get started kind of thing. And so now I think they say, "Are you ready? Are you ready?" Click the staff, step back, and then say lay on. So I think I've made them change the order. But anyways, I was on top of Garen, and and I jumped on him real fast and killed him. And then went over to just see mom and dad, and my dad saying, "Wow, that was pretty neat. That was really good to see." And boy, you sure lambasted that guy. And then I said, "Oh, we got to go and turn around, and say goodbye." And I turned around, and there was Garen standing right behind me. He goes, "Your mom and dad?" I went, "Yeah." "First time watching you fight?" I went, "Yeah." He goes, "That's pretty cool. I have one question about our fight." And I went, "Oh, okay. What's that?" And he goes, "Can I see your mace?" And he grabbed my mace and squeezed it and went, "Oh, well, nothing wrong with that. Okay. I just want to tell you, you never have to hit me that hard again." I guess I was, the adrenaline was really running, and he thought my mace might have been something pretty heavy. So yeah, that was my first year, and that got me, into the SC, just both feet, as much as I could get in. We were going to events, every weekend we could, which meant, a lot of travel off the island and such.
So if there weren't any knights on the island, who were you practicing with, and who was mentoring you in fighting?
There were no knights on the island. We didn't have a lot of fighters. We only had a few. There's only, like when I joined Secret at that time, there was only maybe 7 or 8 of us. There wasn't that many. I mean, there might have been more on paper, but nobody that came out. And far as fighters went, we had Heiki Toshiro, Mark de Gockler, and Grimley the Executioner. And then a couple of university guys that, were there only for a year or so, and they were gone again. So nobody really. I didn't have anybody there. So, it was basically, there was a few nights in Lionsgate, and that was about it. So I didn't really have anybody teaching me how to fight at that point.
Is there a point where you did hook up with somebody and you squired to somebody?
No, I wasn't squired at all. I wanted to be. I was actually planning on going for sergeant 1 year, but I got knighted before I got a chance to.
How long did it take you to get knighted?
I was about 2.5 years. It was about 2.5 years from the time I got started. And so, I didn't really have, enough of an opportunity, and I think it was mostly, knighting on pure aggression. I was an aggressive fighter, so I think that got me through a lot.
So who do we have
Brute
to
force and
blame
ignorance
for
mostly.
who do we have to blame for teaching you how to throw the backhand?
Or the offside shot like that.
Yeah.
Um, well, you may actually blame my work where I used to work, where I broke my elbow. When you throw a snap, you throw it with your palm flat. With my right hand, I can't throw my palm flat because it doesn't rotate because I don't have so I had to learn to throw the other side. So that was my main shot. Even though I hold my sword in my right hand, I attack the left most of the time. I can throw wraps, anything I can throw palm down, I can throw. So I throw wraps and offsides. My snap, it's there, but not really. It doesn't go up high enough.
Okay.
So but Duke Eric was he was at the time he was I was netted and he wasn't, kind of thing, but he was helping me lean over deeper, by raising my elbow higher I could lift my hand lower and I could throw the sort of the into the armpit area, do a little drop, so just going for the head, drop it a little bit lower, because for the head they were doing a lot of sword blocking. So if you drop your hand down, lift your elbow up, you can slip it underneath the sword and into the armpit area. So that was my bread and butter shot for the longest time.
A lot of the photos of you fighting, you're really off to the side.
Bent over and yeah. It was well, because as I get better at sword blocking, I had to go down deeper and deeper, kind of thing. But yeah, that was sort of what I've noticed is some sort of my little trick shot kind of stuff. And I've always found I did better when I went away from my area, because my own local area, they know, but if I go to, the area got bigger as time went on, but, when I go to Seattle, they didn't know what I was, they didn't expect that, it was kind of new to them. We were at my own local practice, so they were blocking it before I threw it, because they knew where I was coming from. So I find I did better when further away I went,
Awesome. So I think it's funny that Torgal authorized you, and then he was also the king that gave you your award of arms.
Yes, yeah.
So he must not have taken too much of a disliking towards you.
No, I heard, and again, I don't know if it's true at all. I've never talked to him about it. But I heard he was given a bad time about it from the knights that he beat up on this new guy because he made these dents in his helmet. But it really wasn't. I don't really think it. It was just the construction of that helmet kind of stuff. It was that bad. I had to put a couple of breaker bars on the sides of the helmet to stop it from denting like that.
How long did you wear that helmet?
Sadly, for over a year. It was probably the most expensive helmet in the kingdom at the time. Even though it was probably the worst helmet in the kingdom at the time, it was, I paid quite a bit for it. And again, too, there wasn't a lot of other places to get helmets. If you wanted to get one, you had to order one. And so, and it took, usually over a year to get. I ordered one and I got it from Montford. And it took about a year, a little more than that to get. And when I got it, it was too small. I actually wore it for probably 3 or 4 months before they wouldn't let me wear it anymore. I went from a helmet that was too big and too much foam, in which you had to sort of gauge by sound because you hardly felt anything, to a helmet that had one layer of blue foam, and that was it. And blue foam, it was under pressure, and blue foam will die under pressure. So eventually it became paper thin. And one time I got my bell rung, and all the rivet marks were all across my forehead. So then they wouldn't allow me fight that helmet anymore. So I had to go from to the next one. So my first few years, it took me a few years before I finally got a helmet that was actually nice and was okay.
When did you switch from the strapped round to the center mount?
I probably fought for a year and a half with the center grip round. Gerhardt came to me one day and said, "When was the last time you want to finish the fight standing up?" And I went, "Oh," and I couldn't remember, And he said, "Yeah, it's time. I think it's time for you to change." And my my strap-on round shield I had was a spun steel one, and it weighed 13 pounds. So it was once it started going, if you went to block your legs, you didn't stop. So if a person faked for your legs, your shield was going down. You weren't bringing it back, kind of thing. So you kind of had the tendency to keep your shield up and lose your legs and continue fighting. So yeah, I fought probably a year and a half from my knees, but which it came up as an advantage later. But I had that crown where I broke my ankle. Oh, I broke an ankle once. Um, and well, that's another whole story. But I fought crown from my knees to the whole crown. I went out there with a cast on my foot. I wasn't going to go to that crown. I was, I was training for it and getting all, I had 2 Septembers in a row where I came in second. So I was, I was a hot contender at that point. So, the next September was coming along, and I was, getting ready for it for the first time, and actually, no, I think it might have been in May. I don't remember for sure. And I started, practicing and working out, and back in those days to get ready for crown, a workout was, you start maybe 2 months beforehand and start, doing a little bit of jogging or something. So I was, jogging and getting in shape for this crown, and actually going to try this time really hard. And then I broke my ankle. I stepped in a gopher hole at a war, and down I went. So I was all set, and that was it. I'm not gonna. I'm and crown was down in Southern Oregon. I'm not going. It's too far to go. And they said, no, you have to go. You're kingdom champion. I went, oh, okay. Well, then if I'm going to go, I'm going to fight. And you go, you can't fight. You got a cast on your foot, And so I went to my doctor actually and asked if I could cut. I found I couldn't bend my foot back far enough to go to my knees. But if I removed a little bit off the calf, I could bend back further and I could be able to fight for my knees. And my doctor actually had seen a demo once. He was walking through a park when we were doing a demo one time, and so he's seen me fight. So he said, yeah, you'll be okay. So we trimmed a little bit off the back there, and I went to fight practice to see if we could try it out. And Darius and I were practicing with Darius, and we found I could fight from my knees. I had a blind spot, but I could fight from any. I had one spot I couldn't twist to my left, but I could twist to my right. And so anyways, I show up at Crown and tell them I'm going to fight, and they went, you can't, you got a cast on your foot. I went, no, it's okay. I've checked with the doctor. It's fine. And so Gunnar said, he says, well, he was king, and he goes, yeah, he says he's been to the doctor. He's my champion. Yeah, I'm going to let him fight. However, I don't want anybody to give him any quarter. So he's going to fight from his knees. You don't give him your legs. You go out and just fight him straight up. So that was the deal. So I went out there. Oh, and they made me put a sock on my foot. I had to put a sock over my so I didn't have any bare flesh. So I'm out there stomping with a crutch with a sock on my foot, and I dropped to my knees and fought Crown from there. And I got down, so there was 3 of us left. It was I believe it was Stangram, Darius, and I were left. And I drew Darius. And so anyways, I go to my knees, and Darius knew where that blind spot was because we discovered that at practice, and he came in, bang, it was over. He took me out. But I came in third from my knees for the whole, so fighting from your knees it's good to learn how. It was mostly, I think, more of the people didn't know how to fight against it. They were coming into my range and letting me getting away with stuff they shouldn't get away with anymore. But
Very cool.
it was kind of fun to, yeah.
Wow. So you've silver rosed 4 times, right?
3 times.
3 times, and one of them was the war crown.
No, 3 times. And one was the war crown. Yes. Yeah.
How was that?
The war crown was, yeah. It was an experiment. It was okay, but I wouldn't want to see it happen again. I didn't like it. The reason why I didn't like it more than anything else is it had a lot of hurt. People got hurt feelings, because you had to choose who to fight for at that point. It wasn't like it didn't matter who you fought in the tournament. When you got down to the finals, everybody that was in the crown had to choose. And there's a lot of divided friendships. I had people that fought for me that surprised me because we were down in the Yakima area, and which is ship's crew home territory, and Willem, who was fighting against, was ship crew, so we had that. So he had a little home field advantage there. But I had Cedric fight for me, which shocked me because I didn't really know him. But his night was names are slipping out here for a minute.
Rolf?
Yeah, Rolf Longbow, yeah. And Rolf, said no, because we were good friends and we were on Onward's Guard together all these years. And he says, no, you're fighting for Oak. Didn't matter if it's ship's crew or not. And he says, so he came up and told me, he says, my ex-knight tells me I have to fight for you, so that's who I'm fighting for. And the others that fought for Willem that I thought were, would have been fighting for me, hurt feelings and, I know a little bit like that. I've always felt a little bit of that on a couple. And Barrick and Skepti, had a blowout over it. And I don't think they ever got over it. And even though, it didn't involve either one of them directly, but, um, they had a blowout from that, and I don't think they ever cleaned up. So because of that type of situation, I don't think it was a good idea. But it was fun stuff. I mean, there's some good stories out of it. At one point, it was best out of 5 or best out of 3. I mean, but no, I don't. Maybe it was best out of 5 because we had lost the first 2 fights, and there was going to be a third one yet. And my side, we were outpiked. We didn't have the pikes. Wolf was fighting for the other side, and he had all the pikemen. So we were at a disadvantage there. So we were getting beat up, and it was pretty obvious we were going to lose the battle. And so Avalok came to me and said, "Okay, all I can do for you is at this point, I'll give you a choice in the next battle. We have these battles left to do. What one do you want?" And I said, "No, I need an open field battle. Give me an open field." And so he said, "Okay, we got an open field." So Thorvald was sort of my captain of my army. He was sort of running the army. And the plan was, he says, "Okay, it's the battle was kill the prince. So whoever kill the first prince. As soon as this prince is dead, didn't matter if he's only one alive. I mean, if he's the only one that died. As soon as the prince was dead, the battle was over." And so when we got lined up, the 2 armies lined up, we started moving towards each other. And when it was 10 yards beforehand, he charged, and everybody charged, but we didn't charge anybody else but William. We were only going after William, nobody else. We ran right past the pikemen and everything else, just straight to him. So all of a sudden they were on top of him, and they pounced on him, and they were beating away, and they killed him. And the marshal goes, blows the horn, the battle's over. And then you hear from one of the corners, he goes, "But I'm not dead yet." And Willem and Torquil had switched helmets and switched gear. So they killed the wrong guy. So, it was kind of a fun story that we were charging in there, but then they go, "Uh-oh. So now what do we do?" So, well, I guess we have to refight it, But, now our plan was blowing. So it wouldn't have changed anything, but it would have been fun to win the one battle. But, I got killed in that one, and that was it. That was at one point, there was Edward E. Nansen was with 5 guys chasing me, and I'm all by myself, and I'm just running and killing as I'm running away. I'm trying to wait for the rest of our guys to kill Willem. It was a fun war, but I don't think War Crown should be fought that way.
Yeah, for those of you not in Ontier, like the Saturday part of the tournament was normal, basically. And then the last 2 people at the end fought war scenarios on Sunday, and they had to recruit people, and you could either opt out or you could fight for one side. I opted out, but I watched. I didn't earn my way into the final, so I didn't fight the war scenarios. That's how I felt.
We had a fun. One of my squires was fighting in his very first crown ever. Was that crown? I mean, I don't think he's fought another one since. So, anyways, we always like to say, yeah, he went to fought in his first crown, and he got to the finals.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. He was a rapier fighter, and he was. So he basically said, "I'll be your banner bearer," and went out there with holding the banner with a sword in one hand and the banner in the other.
Sweet. Should we look at some pictures?
Sure.
No. I was gonna start giving you the Jeopardy music.
Oh, thanks, because I'm slow. Okay, so can you see the pictures?
It's a blank screen.
Not yet, no.
Oh, really? Oh, it's showing up as. All right, well, bear with me. see if this works.
There we go.
Yeah, that's my first actually my first fight.
Is that your helmet?
Yeah, that's my helmet, the big flat top.
Okay.
And I'm holding my strap-on mount shield like a heater, in front of me, and that's my suit there with a big zipper at the back, with a tent zipper. And I got
lacrosse legs.
Oh, actually, lacrosse don't wear legs, but that was baseball knee shin guards for back hit. Yeah.
Hold on a minute. Sorry.
What happened?
I'm not sure. Okay.
There we go.
All right. Sorry about that.
So wait, go back.
Were
you fighting Tortle there?
Here we go.
No, that one is one of those university students we had then from the night the Flinian fighters we had. And there's a better look at the. So I got my lacrosse gloves on and on the big flat top helmet. And that was that fight I told you about where I broke my sword and was using a mace against Garen. I painted stripes on that helmet then to make it look better, to make it so it was streamlined.
That's like your device, right? So you came up with that like way back when, and you just kept it.
Yeah, when I submitted the device, they said, okay, you can't have white on white, so or metal on metal, so I had to change my piles to golden color.
Oh, cool.
Gave me the white on white. That was my second helmet, but it was too small. And that was our secret that year for Bitter Waters. We all went with axes. That was our secret weapon. We went out there with axes on, and I had a pole axe. We used traffic cones for axes. Cool. That was Bitter Waters 3. And we had another secret weapon, and that was Lynette Kestrel. And she was pregnant. And we marked her with big baby on her belly. And so Lionsgate came out and killed everybody's secret but her. And she was an archer, and they waited till she ran out of arrows. And when she ran out of arrows, they said, "Okay, Lionsgate wins." But no one would kill her. Nobody would go near her. So, if she had more arrows, we probably could have won. And that's a picture of the Munin. We had we had Storm Crow's boats that we used to go on, and then that kind of stopped happening, and the local group up here, not us, but the Scandinavian Society up here, built a boat, and we get to use it for, you could go out and use it every once in a while. It was, by donation, you can go for sale. So we used to do a birthday sale every September kind of stuff. And if the weather was good, you sailed. If the weather was, no wind, you rode. So that was I got my turn on the tiller. That's my knighting. It was kind of funny. That happened on a Sunday. On the Monday at a September Crown and way up the mountains in Alberta. And everybody from I-5 corridor had already got on the bus that morning and left. And everybody else was either packing up or going, and it was freezing cold. It was, it was really, really cold. So I had more people standing behind the thrones as retinue than there was, in the audience, for the ceremony kind of stuff. And when I got home the following week, I went to fight practice and I pulled up my armor and put on my knight's belt, and they went, "What's that?" And I said, "Oh, I got knighted at the weekend." And they said, "No, we were there. We didn't see that. That didn't happen." And I said, "Yeah." So Heikki slipped off and got on the phone and phoned Gerhardt and found out it was true. Because it was just nobody, there's literally nobody there kind of stuff. The night beforehand, they asked me if I wanted a vigil. And as I said, I wasn't a squire to anybody. So I said, I don't know, what's the vigil? And they had to tell me what it was, and it wasn't that common, I guess. Well, actually, I'd only seen a few knightings before that. So, it was news to me. So, they explained to me. And so they found me a cabin way out in the, somewhere that they could hold this vigil for me. We didn't have any candles. It was pitch black. And as I said, it was way up the mountains, freezing. So, having this vigil and Beric, who was king, came in and he talked to me and gave me some advice. And then Gerhard came in and he was giving me a little bit of advice. And then the whole crowd came in all at once. They were tired of freezing. They weren't going to wait any longer. So they all came in and we had to, they all gave me the little bit of advice, while we're sitting around in the pitch black. We had a little light from a camp stove, but basically people were talking and I was trying to guess who they were, in the dark. It was, and that was that crown. That's the fight. They say the shot that they say got me knighted. That I took Dak out. And they said that was, I don't know if it's true, but I was told that was the sort of deciding factor that I just took out Dak that day. Caught him in the ribs, and he was just wearing his gambler's armor. And that, I'm not positive, but I'm pretty sure that was from that crown where I was on my knees. So this is Darius and I is in the semifinals. And then, and so it was a, fighting for the whole thing for my knees kind of stuff, it was sort of, it's just a little bit of history, a different little story. And there's my favorite shot, bending, reaching deep for the armpit, sort of thing. Going for
All Stars stole that from you.
Yes, well, off guard. Yeah, he does it down too, and catches you in the ribs, in the armpits. So yeah, it's smart. And there's against Magnus. Same thing. I found a lot of these pictures I was finding. I was throwing the offsides. While bending. Yeah, and that's the final blow from the final my second cornet win, and the final blow was against just a poor squire that was in his finals for the first time. But I legged him, and again I'm doing my big reach over to the left. There we go. I'm setting it up. I haven't thrown it yet, but I'm coming for the armpit next.
Do you still fight with the D guard?
Yes. Yeah. Again, partly because of my wrist. I mean, my elbow. I don't have as much, but I found with the D guard, I had way more wrist movement than I do with a basket hold, and that gives me, I can throw, more shots because I'm not as limited as much, with because I can't, when I can't flex with my elbow, I can flex with my wrist.
Right.
This is a beautiful helmet you're wearing.
Yeah, that one was really nice. I was wanting to get a nice helmet for years and years and years, and something would happen. I'd have the money, but then couldn't find one, or I find one, but I didn't have the money, and I came across Ulf had a helmet that he bought. It was this one, and it was too big for him. It didn't fit, and he went, "Oh, I got a helmet that might fit you," and he didn't really want to sell it, but he tried it. I tried it on, and it looked so good on me. He says, "I can't stop you from getting it." So I got that one from him. So yeah, it was really nice. Okay, this one. Now, I bet you can't guess who I'm fighting there.
Is that Torquil?
That's what I thought, but no, I'm pretty sure that's because it kind of looks that way, but no, that's Stilcar.
Really?
Yeah. And what I liked about that shot is, can you see the bend on the sword?
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah, I'm not sure if the sword was broken or it was just bending. I don't know, but it was kind of a fun shot to see this bent sword.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm not sure why I got that one in. It's just a piking armor.
Speaking of Ulfgar.
Pike fight. Yeah, Ulfgar there, yeah. And it's kind of funny. I keep seeing my armor on the other side, so there was my other side. That's the from my first finals with Davin.
I was gonna say that looks like Davin's helm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was my first finals with Davin, and my only claim for fame on that one is rushing in, I caught his foot underneath my foot, and as he was retreating, he stepped out of his boot. And I still had his foot pinned down enough, so he ended up having a sock. You know how you get socks stretched out off your foot. So he had just a little bit less of sock still on his foot, and the rest of it trailed out in front of him. So we had to call a hold and get his boot back on. Yeah, but yeah, that was my first one where Davin took me open too. And that's the war crown. That's the that was my army heading out to battle for the to take on Willem's army.
Cool.
And that's step up. I just love my furs, and that was my step up for my second cornet. There's that final again from the and that's just when I threw in because I just that was a coat that was made for me that I just absolutely love. Asta made that for me and did a beautiful job. So
sorry.
Oh, okay. This is my fiercest guardsman I had for my last reign. This is Oban, and he was sent in ahead of time. For a cornet, we had a little fun story. The movie The Vikings. The old not Kurt Russell.
Douglas.
But Kurt Douglas, yeah. So, anyways, you had that French horn. Do do do. So every time, all during Ian's final court, we kept having that pop up every once in a while, and then somebody would come in saying, "The Vikings are coming! The Vikings are coming!" And then Oban was sent in first, and he comes up, and I had a little sword for him, and he comes up and says, "You're in an Oak's chair. What are you doing? You better look out. Oak's coming. You better get out of his chair." And so the theme of my step up was that I had gone off. I had won the first cornet, and it was Prince, and then won a Viking, and now I'm coming back and find out someone's been sitting on my throne all this time. So that was the theme for it. So anyways, and then I like the old thrones, the original ones that were made for Thierry. They're really heavy and really pain to move around, but to me they were beautiful and should have been used. So anyways, I brought them back, got them back out of storage and got them back up. So and then I said, "What are you doing in my throne? My seat." And then I go in there and sit in and go, "No, it's not my chair." And it made them switch out and bring out bring me out the old throne.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's the finals. Just doing the congratulations there for the last cornet there. Yeah. And that's the old Bitterwater war site. That's where we had the Einars versus the Wolfpack. The Wolfpack on the right there, and the Einars over on the left, and those are fun. That was my third helmet. That's when I finally made me a helmet that would fit. But yeah, that was the the original of Ducal War II up here that we have. That was the start of that. Was the Einars versus the Wolfpacks.
So let's talk about the Einars a little bit. What is that all about? You have this huge group of people.
Huge household.
Well, yeah, that's kind of funny. When I first moved, I started fighting, originally and all that, joined the SCA in Sigurd, and then we moved to Lionsgate, and Lionsgate had about 5 really big households then at that time, and they were, competing with each other, and they were kind of cliquish. I didn't. So people kept inviting us into the different, things, and I didn't like the idea of being very cliquish at all, kind of stuff. So I didn't want to get involved in any one of the households. I didn't want to pick one or the others. So we stayed away from them. And then, and then years later, when I get my first squire knighted, I guess you think my second squire knight. So I guess it was Barrack was my first squire got knighted, and then the next one was Wolf. And Wolf, when he was getting knighted, he wanted to take my last name, and so he came up and said, can I be, I want to be your son, and to take your last name. So I said, okay, and not realizing that all of a sudden we had an Anderson. And the household sort of formed from that. That wasn't the plan, but it just sort of formed that way. And it grew and grew and grew, and got bigger and bigger. And I kept getting more people knighted, and more people would get so they'd get their kids knighted and grand squires. It was Wolf when he was after we were getting him ready to get knighted. His fighting was there, but his costuming and armor wasn't there. So we were, the beautification of Wolf to get him ready, so we can get him knighted. And so we got him all set up with new belts and all this kind of stuff. But when it came to time to fight, we realized he didn't have a fighting belt. The belt we gave him for his knighting was a caution belt. So he saw my old belt that I was originally given when I got knighted, that I wore for years and years and years. It was now in the bottom of my armor bag, rejected, and I'm sure rats were chewing on it and stuff like this because it got some chew marks here and there on it. He needed a belt, so he asked if he could have that one. I said, oh, sure, yeah, I've stopped using that, so I gave him that belt. And then that belt's now been passed on to, I'm thinking it's getting close to like 60 different knights. It's
Yes,
you know,
it doesn't.
yeah, it goes and goes and goes. It was, and then all of a sudden it becomes this thing that's, as I said, they finally had it mounted. It was getting so old and worn out. They had it mounted onto another piece of leather to keep it going. And yeah, it became, quite the deal. We had Sweet William got it when he got knighted. And he got to wear it for at least 20 minutes where we got passed it on. And just kept going around and around and around. We had so many in the household getting knighted at that point. It just kept getting spread around.
Do you know how many Einar sons there are now?
No, not really, because as I said, I didn't like the idea of being cliquish. So all you had to do to be an Einarson was just to be to say you are. You didn't. There's no requirements to do it. Like so we have a few that actually have Einarson as their names, and a lot of them were squires and ex-squires and stuff. Like Leoder, Leoder is one of my squires, and he's a pelican and a laurel. But he's an Ironson, So how many there are, I don't know. I've had 8 squires knighted, but and not all of them became Ironson. Well, they are and they aren't, loosely associated sort of thing. But like Beric, Beric was a Raven's Fury, and changed his names over time. But Beric was my first squire to get knighted, and so I've had 2 counts, 1 duke, and 4 viscounts, out of my group. So
It's from coming from not being a squire yourself to sort of being the patriarch of this huge lineage of Einars is kind of astounding, actually. It's kind of a huge, amazing thing.
Yeah. People give me a lot of credit, and I don't really think I deserve it. You get a lot of people that ask you, what's it take to be a knight? How do you get knighted and that kind of stuff? And I said, you made all these knights. I said, no, I haven't made any knights. They all do. The only way you get knighted is you do it yourself. You can, I can give guidance and I can give direction and help promote them, but if they don't have it, you can't do it. I like to give an example. You have, let's take a look at example. Uther, he's 6'8", something like that, or more, I don't know, and really athletic and, big, strong guy. For him to get knighted was no big deal. But take a look at Owain. Owain, he's so small. He's not that tall. He's skinny. He's not very coordinated, really. You wouldn't think so, but he's got no depth perception at all. He's got really poor eyesight, for depth, and so he's fast, but he's not, he's not Sven fast. He's fast, but not super fast. But how do you get knighted and how do you become a duke? Just pure heart, determination. That's what he wanted. He just worked at it. Mark of the White Hand didn't get knighted until he's in his 50s, and how did he do it? He's not athletic, but he was the first one in armor for the longest time and the last one out of armor for the longest time. When everything else is done and finished, he's still trying. He worked more. He just had to work for it more. So it's not like I did a lot of this stuff. A lot of it's just happened, and I think a lot of it's too. I've been doing it for almost 40 years now. So I think that's a big part of it. When you have that long, and there's been a lot. I've had a lot of guys who've been my squires, got knighted, won crown, and then they don't play anymore. So they've been and gone. But I don't plan to quit, and this has sort of been my my lifestyle for the last 30 years, and I don't want to see it ending.
Yeah.
Well,
I've finished my fighting now, but other than that, I'm keep going.
Let's take a look at these last couple of pictures.
Okay. Yeah, that was my third helmet. And I finally had a helmet that actually was able to work for me, that I could use something with. Again, it was really not pretty, but it worked. It was very, very, very still functional. 12 gauge top, so it didn't dent any, no more denting problems at all. That was made by Sir Jeffrey. That's from Odin's playground. We have a sort of a kids sports day sort of done, but for adults. And we have that was we have a strongman competition. That was our cable tossing that we were doing.
Super
fun. That was a helmet made for me from some Stefan Falk. He made three leather helmets that were pretty good. Torquil got one, and yeah, and name's slipping off my tongue here. Luke from Down Under, Eric had one, and I got the third one, and it was, he did beautiful, gorgeous work. I just love that helmet.
It's really pretty. And you looking majestic.
Yeah. I love my axe. And that's that helmet from that I got from Wolf. Yeah.
Pretty.
Yeah, I got to do a bit of riding a few years back all the time, sort of, and that was my riding Lundella. That was, and there on the next one, we're doing a little bit of, we did a little demo once, and we actually we were allowed to take off our riding helmets that we have, the little sports helmet, and got to wear our SCA helmets kind of thing. They let us get away with that for a day. That was kind of fun. That was riffing over there with the flat top.
Right.
So we sort of glossed over it, but I kind of wanted to talk to you a little bit about winning the first Thierry coronet. I was up there. You think you fought Ulf in the finals? Is that right?
Well, I thought it was Ulf in the finals for sure. Yeah.
But you really had an opportunity there. Like, not only were you already a pillar of Thierry, but you had an opportunity to sort of shape the culture and sort of put the principality on the direction. And I just wondered, what are your thoughts from that? Like,
I was really honored for that. That was really good. I really wanted it badly. I know it was, and so did a few of us. We were, to be the first prince was something that we knew would be something nice. We didn't have, you got to, we didn't have awards, so you had to create them, So it was, we had no, preparation. So my step up was, preparation was literally 1 hour. Go take your armor off and go wash up a bit, come back, and then we were made, Tenise and Tenise, and then an hour after that we were made Prince and Princess. So it was good. It was really nice to be able to do that. So we had to invent the different awards we came up with, and most of them stuck, but not all of them. And then some of them, what I had envisioned them to be for had been changed over the years a little bit. Some people came up with some different ideas or different impressions of it, so they've changed things a bit. So. But it was really nice to be there at the beginning and to create that kind of stuff.
And when you did your second reign, did you add anything? Did you do any augmentations to what has been established?
No. My second reign was we didn't create. And I mean, to be honest, I feel there's too many awards right now. You get a lot of events where there's, handing out awards and you go, what's that? I hadn't heard of that one before, and if you take a look at the award list, it's huge, So I don't think we needed to add any,
Right.
I actually found myself, no offense to anybody who's added awards, because it's awesome, but I couldn't remember what they were all for. Like, I just don't know anymore.
Or when they tell you what they're for, you went, oh, I thought that was covered by this, So so the second reign, we didn't add anything. To be honest, I was kind of, at that point, I was kind of surprised by the little influence I was able to have, as much as I thought I would be able to have. I was trying to push, and I still am trying to push Thierry for Kingdom. And I thought that would be a great, if I could get up there and, do a little bit of grandstanding, but I kind of got in trouble for the little bit I did do, and so I couldn't do as much as I wanted. I went and had a kingdom banner made up that I was going to raise. Oh no, no, not yet, not yet. Put that down, not shh, But I wasn't allowed to do that. So but anyways, I think I honestly believe that TUI is there, and I just was trying to wanted to be able to promote that, and I was surprised at how much I wasn't able to do, and how much say I didn't have. I found the bureaucrats had more control than they did the first time. The first time I had a lot more freedom. As I said, we were making our own awards. We had to make them up. It's kind of funny. One of the awards we made up was one of the ones I enjoyed the most. Is we have what's called the Shattered Spear, and it's the equivalent of the Buckingham Wall. And when we had our when we were doing our step up for the first time, we had we used to always have a spear for the champion of the North. And then so Wolf, who had been the last champion, he went out and had a spear made that we have now, our boar's tooth, and it was he got Grendel to make us this huge giant spear point for it, Damascus, and it's just gorgeous. But anyways, he put that together, and so we had to get rid of the old sword, the old spear. For some reason, we just couldn't retire it. He decided we had to break it. So we chopped it up, and which was quite an ordeal. It was tougher wood than we thought. So and we chopped that with that my big axe we have there, But so anyways, we had this broken spear, and we had all the stuff that was being given to us as this, more and more stuff handed to us as this now part of your regalia. And we had a full truck going there, so we were gonna have a really full truck going home. And so we had the spear, and Thor said, "We're not taking that home, this broken spear." I said, "Oh, don't worry about it. I got a solution for it." And in my early fighting days, the word I was most proud of, the one I enjoyed the most, was the mucking tall maul, which was ferocity on the field. So I decided I was going to hand out the shattered spear, and so I got up right then and walked down and handed to Ian Gower, and handed him, for the most ferocious on the field that day, kind of stuff. And so we created an award right there without talking to our heralds or doing anything. It was just bang, we made an award. Here you go, and it stuck. It's one of the few ones that hasn't really changed. And I was able to continue on.
It's really cool. Did you do an equivalent for the old Shattered Shield as well?
No, I don't believe we have one of those. No. We did our own equivalent to the well, actually, and this was Wolf's award. Wolf handed out the award he created. Sorry, the award that Wolf created was the Raven of Tiri, and it's an equivalent of Antyr's Lion. And I was the first Raven, so that was real big honor kind of stuff he did for me. And Wolf did that on his second reign.
Very cool. That's awesome.
Or his third. I'm not sure.
Maybe it was his fifth. I don't know.
Oh, was it? Okay.
No, I was joking.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know.
I was giving Ulf a hard time. Because that's fun.
Yeah.
Teasing Ulf is fun.
So Owain and Rin made you a Lion of Antir, right?
Yes.
How did that feel? Like it came from, one of your squires that's now a duke, and
well, mixed. I mean, it was really nice getting it from him, and it was a real honor and that kind of stuff. And it was nice to be thought of that from your squires, that they have that kind of respect for me and think I'm there. But he also kind of worry, was it nepotism, kind of stuff. So there's mixed feelings that way. I mean, there's a lot of people. I won't mince words. There's some people that are lions. I'm going, wow, that's kind of surprises me. And there's other people that aren't lions, and you're going, why the hell aren't they in that line? They really, in my mind, they should be, miles ahead of some of these other people that are getting. And I'm not saying the other people didn't get it, because most of the time you don't really know what they're doing, you're not from their area, so you may not know what they're doing. But there's some people that you're going like, how did I get this and they haven't? It's those kind of goes through your mind, kind of stuff. But it was really honor, I think Wayne was trying to show me that his highest honor to me, show his respect.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's really somebody that has influenced and meant the world to that king and that queen, right? And so it totally made sense when he chose you to everybody else, I think. I see it for sure. Anyway.
So there's been a lot of talk during COVID that Thierry's going to make another run for going kingdom. Are you part of that process?
Yes, I think I keep poking the bear every so often, and trying to keep it going again. The last time was when I was on, my last reign is when I was pushing it then, and then, I'm always kind of pushing a little bit. And I've been wanting to do a poll forever, and they keep telling me we can't, and I really don't understand what, and they said, oh, that comes later. And I said, well, we want to, if people want to do it, how do we know that people want to do it? I mean, I will stop pushing it and keep bringing it up if I know that people don't want it. But I mean, I know the people I talk to want it and think they were ready. And then, I mean, during my last reign, when they said, we weren't ready yet, not yet, I said, okay, what are we missing? Give us a list of what we're missing, and then we'll start knocking them things, we can start working on it. But I can never get really given a list that's saying we're not ready yet. And I'm trying to think, well, I was, the first year of Thierry is when, and Tyr is when I joined. So I didn't know the process of how we became a kingdom, but I know what we were like at the beginning there. And I mean, but when I got knighted, a case of beer covered Knights Council, and, it takes more than a case of beer to cover Knights Council in Thierry. I mean, yeah, so, we've got the quality. I mean, the number of dukes that we have up here now, in the last 10 years, the number of on tier kings that have come from Thierry is pretty close to half, if not half. I mean, it's we got between Ulf and Ian and Saverick and Christian and Owain, we've got a fair passel of dukes, kind of stuff. So we've got the quality, we've got the knights. Our Pelican meetings are huge. I don't know enough about the Laurels, but I think we have as much as most. When I do travel to some of the other kingdoms, and when I go to went to golf course and that kind of stuff, and I talk to those other kingdoms, Thierry is, we have our numbers, and the only thing that I see that we don't have a lot of these days is we don't have Ulf and Ian and Saverick fighting for principality because they're fighting at kingdom, and they've had their turn. They've all done principality, and they've got their training through there, and they moved up from there. But so they're not just going to keep coming down. But I mean, if we became a kingdom, they would be back fighting in our crowns, I'm sure, and stuff. So, so you're looking at our coronet, turnout, so the numbers for that. Some of the top fighters aren't fighting those anymore. I mean, and to be honest, to win a coronet again at 60 years old, I shouldn't have. There's no way I should have been able to. If that was a crown, I wouldn't have won. Because we would have had the younger new hot sticks fighting all the time. So right now we have the old guys and the knights and the up and comers. But the cream, the top, the top 5 to 10% guys, they don't usually bother with coronets anymore up here. Because they're winning crowns. But we have the structure, we have the Hilda, we have the laws, we have we have the awards, we have. I mean, I can't say anything about the population right now because with COVID, who knows what the population is going to be when it's all finished. But pre-COVID, we've had our numbers, and we've had the numbers for a long time. I mean, they're not overwhelming, but they got some of that. We're bigger than some of the other kingdoms.
Yeah, well, geographically, if COVID has really shown us anything in our kingdom, it makes sense.
Yeah.
You can't even cross the border; it's closed. So, I think it'll be sad, when Thierry goes, but I also think, it's a good thing, and I think it's probably close to time. I mean, I'm not one to tell anybody to do what to do because I don't live there, but you guys have your own geographical identity, your own regional identity, your own customs. It seems to make sense. And I'm rooting for you guys, like whatever you guys decide to do, whenever you decide to do it. And then we can have a really cool interkingdom war, hopefully.
Yeah.
Yeah. Same. I think with the border issue that we have, I think it's something that needs to be seriously considered. Because if the borders don't open, our king is up there and here right now, and that's kind of a problem. So anyway, so we've talked about that.
Yeah.
Is there anything that we haven't talked about tonight yet that you would like to talk about?
No, I can't think of, I think we covered most of it, the different highlights over the years and that kind of stuff. I mean, the SCA's changed so much, in the last 40 years. A lot of it really good. But I still miss some of the older stuff that we used to have. We have to be honest, in my mind, it was, more fun. We went, the armor was ugly and weak in times, but we seem to have become more ruled by the rules than we have to. We all of a sudden we had to start wearing shield armor, on your elbow and on your shield arm. And okay, I can understand that, but why? Have we been having injuries that I haven't heard about, or are we just making a new rule? And no, there hasn't been any injuries, so if it's not broken, why fix it? And stuff. They can always what if, everything forever. But I think we're becoming too strict, maybe, on too many different things. But I was at my first few wars, we had 12-year-olds doing as archers in there. You couldn't fight till you were 16, but you could shoot a bow then. So we had 12-year-olds on the war field, kind of stuff. And I had my sons. I mean, the rules were you couldn't fight till you were 16, but I had my sons fighting at 14 and 15. And nobody asked for ID. If they can handle it, they can handle it.
Yeah. Even just looking at the evolution of your helmet over time, it's just the level has just risen exponentially.
Yeah. Well, my first sword, I had to wait for a long time to get, but it was hard to find. Then I went to 20th year, and it was so exciting to go there because there was merchants there, because we didn't have merchants hardly anywhere else, and so you could go there and there was actually merchants, and you could go buy a sword, kind of stuff, but that was a big deal. But nowadays you can get anything you want, in 48 hours, pretty much, chainmail used to take you years to get because you'd have to, you buy the springs and then you cut all the springs and then you start knitting it and then you find out you can't do it and then you get somebody else to knit it for you. And it took years. But now I can, get riveted chainmail, in 24 hours. Delivered from your doorstep at a cheap price too.
Yeah, I loved your story of your sword snapping and making it into a mace, because that's what you had to do because there wasn't any rattan. Yeah. Awesome. I love that. Do you have a favorite 20-year story? Like, I've heard so many good 20-year stories.
Yeah. So we went there and I think it was Kaid put on a tournament, and they had a dagger there. They had a Damascus steel sword, Damascus dagger there, and it was $1,000 dagger, and it was like, wow, and here we hadn't thought about that. We hadn't thought about a prize for the tournament. So what are we gonna do for Antier Day? What are we gonna do for a prize? So we went to I think it was Blackhand, I believe. Was merchanting there, and he had a sword for he was selling, and we talked to him to giving it to us, and in the nights we're all going to sort of chip in and add money towards to pay him off, and if we and he said no, but but we're going to do our best to win it, and if we win it, we'll give it back to him so he can sell it. And Torgo won, of course, and Torgo, yeah, and at that time Torgo was godlike. There was nobody that was going to be touching him. He was just so impressive that and so anyways, he won it, and passed it back to Blackhand so he could sell it, so he'd have enough gas money to get home. But we hadn't thought of something that it was fun. We had Eric had one crown, and at Knights Council we're going, do we go with an unbelted crown knight, at crown or at 20th year, or do we knight him before we send him down there, kind of stuff, and Eric fighting level was definitely there without a question, but he hadn't socialized enough, that he didn't really have enough social skills. I remember being at his first court, and and luckily they had Melissa for his queen, who knew everything, and didn't need a herald. She could recite every award by heart pretty much. And they're handing out an award, and Eric goes, "What's that?" She goes, "Oh, we're giving out an AA." He goes, "Well, what's an AA?" He goes, "An award of arms." He goes, "Oh, what's an award of arms?" Because Eric, he'd fight the tournaments, and then he always had stuff going on, and he didn't stick around. And so to him at that time, SCA was fighting. He only had 2 cautions, I think, at the time, and they were both tunics that he won at a tournament. Actually, one wasn't even a tunic; it was just you threw it over top of your armor like a poncho. A surcoat. He just had a surcoat, and that he didn't have anything. So all of a sudden he's going to 20th year. He's going to be at an event for 10 days as king. We got to get the guy clothed up a little bit better, kind of stuff. So it was just so we had to make the decision what to do for 20th year. When we were thinking about that, but we never thought about on Tier Day what to do there. Actually, I do have a good 20th year story. So we were there, and they asked us all if we could help out. So one day I had to, I had a volunteer one day to be a marshal that day. So I was doing armor inspection and marshaling, and so I was, it was really interesting because because for me, I hadn't really traveled. I hadn't traveled outside the kingdom at all. So I'm learning all about the SCA everywhere else. And so I'm doing an armor inspection, and they said we had to go to SCA minimum, not tier minimums, And so this guy came up to me, and he's wearing basketball knee pads for knee armor with a little bit of leather on top of them, and no thigh armor. And I'm going, oh, that's crazy, And he's fighting two-handed sword, so he's got nothing guarding his legs at all. And he's 40 years old. 40. I couldn't believe that. I couldn't believe somebody's still fighting at the age of 40. It just blew my mind. I couldn't believe, and it was his 40th birthday that day, and he was going to go fight every crown he could find, every duke, every king, every prince that he could find. He was going to fight that day, and and so it turns out leather at that time over a knee pad was considered minimum, and he didn't have to wear anything with thighs. So, he passed inspection, and out on the field he went. And he went out and fought all these people. And I thought, well, he's not going to be walking tomorrow. He's going to be just so hamburger, but he was. But I couldn't believe he was still, somebody was fighting at the age of 40. And then, here we are, I'm winning a coronet at 60, so.
Yeah. And I think Thorin won his last crown, and he was, I don't even know, like he had to be in his late 50s, early 60s, right?
Yeah, at least. Yeah. So, so I remember when I first went to my first over 40 tourney, there was, only a few of us, and then it was, we kind of got laughed at. Well, now when you go to SMS in the over 40 tournament, there's like 40 different guys in it now. It's almost
like a crown list.
Yeah, pretty much.
All the really good people are in it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting. It's interesting to get older and realize how much your body can still do, right? Like, yeah. It's pretty cool, actually.
Yeah, I retired this year, but from fighting, and I didn't want to, but and I hadn't planned on it at all. But I've lost my salivary gland, so I can't. I literally have dry mouth, and if I start breathing at all, I didn't think I could ride my motorbike anymore at one point either. It was, and I found a camel pack, but so I was forced to quit. But other than that, I planned on, I didn't know if I'd be competitive anymore, but I was planning to continue to fight for a long time yet. But.
Do you plan to continue to take squires and still train people?
I don't plan to take squires, but to be honest, the last few squires I've taken, I hadn't planned on taking them either. It was, but I still might, but I do plan to keep on teaching and training, yes, and trying to help people and kind of stuff. Yeah, that I would, do plan to continue. But yeah, the squires, they come to you sometimes, and I know I had a different, Wayne, when he first got knighted, his opinion was if you wanted to be a squire, you had to be on the path to get knighted. That was your goal, and you had to be going. And I have several squires that were that way, but I also had some squires that, I refer to as, forever squires, and they don't intend to get knighted, because that's not their path anymore, or never. But they just wanted to be included, and they want to be part of the group. And I have no problems with that. So I had some squires that that didn't fight, and don't fight kind of stuff. And it's just like I'm a pelican too, but I don't take proteges. I take squires, you know, and and they might be doing. I mean, they're just doing service, but it's and the the protege squire I have, he has yellow on his knights on his squire's belt as well. But that's that was his choice, sort of thing. But so yeah, I might be taking more squires still, but yeah, I don't plan to. Just because I don't know if I can, be enough there for them. But um, it's just as I said, there's a lot of reasons for being a squire. And it can be companionship and friendship as well. It doesn't have to be on the path to knighthood.
Sometimes people just need to feel like they have a role to play in the SCA.
Yeah, a place to fit in and be part of the group, kind of stuff. Yeah, and as I said, that was like with my bleed when you started this household. I didn't want to have, to be a cliquish group. So if you want to join, you're a member. If you don't want to be a member, you're not a member. All you have to do is say you are or say you aren't. That's all it takes. Because there's we want to include everybody. We want to have fun.
Definitely.
If you had a piece of advice to give a new person coming fresh into the SCA now, what would it be?
Keep doing it while you're having fun. As long as you have fun, just keep doing it. Um, I always laugh because it seems like Haggard the Horrible. When I read his stuff, it seems like he's looking in my window half the time. And I remember this one, this probably maybe 10 years ago, I saw one of Haggard. He comes in and he's got axes in his head and spears and arrows all over him and kind of stuff. And Dr. Zook says to him, Haggard, aren't you getting a little long in the tooth to be, continue fighting? When are you going to quit? He goes, when it stops being fun. And, I think that's just the best answer. Just do everything you're doing. As long as you're having fun, just keep doing it. Participate,
And
It doesn't matter whether, yeah, it doesn't matter if it's axe throwing or fighting or archery or, equestrian stuff, find what you like in the SCA and just keep doing it. Have fun. And, I think the old SCA was more fun than it is today, but it's definitely not as, well researched. I mean, as I said, my first outfit was a converted Santa Claus outfit. Only wore it once, never again. But it didn't stop me from coming out. I looked at it and I knew what it was, and it was, but it's what I had to do to continue to play.
Yeah. So you just make it work. Yeah, for sure.
I loved that Odin's Playground event that you guys put on up there for a while, because you had so many different Viking-driven activities, and there's so much to do and different stuff like that we don't get to do all the time. I love those kind of theme events, and I know you were sort of behind that a little bit, right?
Yeah, I didn't do the first one. I was at the very first one. Thor and I had just stepped down from being Prince and Princess, and John and Mary were putting it on, and they asked us if we would be Lord and Lady for the event, and so we got to be the Lord and holding the event kind of thing. So we held court, and we had so much fun at it. And that was the first time I ever threw an axe. Was that event, and I loved it. And it was so hooked. So and then from then on, we became a regular event. And as time went on, John and Mary had to step back a little bit, and we stepped up. And so Thor and I had been running that event for most years. Not always, but the majority of the time, it's Thor and I are being the autocrats for it and getting it going. And the idea of it is just it's basically like a school's sports day. There's something for everybody to do. And I remember one of the ones I enjoyed the most was they had the contest for the arts and sciences, and it was what makes a Viking merry. So a bunch of people had different mead recipes and stuff. So they brought their homemade mead, and they had that entering for the arts and sciences. And there was, a few other different things and some different cooking things and ideas and that. And I came out and I said, I called for my squire at the time, who was White Hand, and said, White Hand, get over here. And he comes over here, and I draw my sword, and I pointed at him and says, you going to marry her? He goes, what? marry her. And then we had another lady there, that had a teddy bear stuffed up underneath her dress, and she turns around and she's out to here with this teddy bear, and we're going, are you going to marry her? So my entry into what makes a Viking marry was a broadsword marriage. uh,
Oh God. Okay.
yeah.
Nice. People in the comments are making jokes about licking people. And I don't know if that's a thing that you guys lick people and you make them minors or what, but
Yeah, I guess up here we cross and say, I licked it, so I own it, kind of thing.
oh, okay.
Well, it's mine, so yeah, you lick a person and they're yours. But
Cool.
no, it's not something I do a lot of.
Especially not now.
Yeah. Yes, yeah, not with COVID going on.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, Odin's, to be honest, it's probably one of my favorite events. It's because it's just all meant to be fun.
Yeah, it totally is. It's like a Viking field day. It's super fun. So
yeah, sheep tossing and rock throwing and hammer toss and
cool.
Thora says the licking is all about her.
Oh, okay. Sorry, Your Excellency.
So Thora has been your inspiration for quite a long time. What role does she play when you fight in coronet tournaments or crown tournaments?
In this, you have talk about your inspiration, and you see some people on the side of the field, and they're making this big display of affection on the for their inspiration. And to me, to be honest, for me, the inspiration came from, okay, you got fight practice tonight. I'll make sure I'll have supper on the table early, so you can get supper and still have time to go to fight practice. Because if supper's late, either you're gonna not gonna bother going to practice, or you're gonna go to practice but you haven't eaten yet. To help you get there, to help you prepare your armor and your costumes and make sure that you look good, kind of stuff. So I find the whole thing of inspiration is making it so you can do your game, make it so you can get to your fight. That's where I find that really makes a difference.
It's the invisible stuff that goes on at home that everybody.
Yeah, the support.
I agree 100%. Like it's the months and months and months of training and supporting each other in whatever way you can. The day is just it's just the day. It's all the other things that make it what it is.
Yeah, they make it so you can get there that day, and so you can perform and do your best in your fighting.
Yeah, that's how we run it too. And I think I've gotten some flack in the past for not being out on the field and watching my husband fight. And sometimes it's better for him to know that I've got the kids in an enclosed space and we're all good and he doesn't have to worry about it. So then he's free to go on and carry on his day.
Exactly. And Thor was usually taking care of the kids and taking care of the camp and making sure everything's going there. And then people, when they start getting close, and they drag her over to make her watch the final, the semifinals, the finals one and stuff. And she says, "Yeah, but every time I watch, that's when you lose. Yeah, I hear you've been winning all day, and then I get there and then you lose. So I think it's bad for luck for me to watch you fight. So no, you're just at the end. That's when I get in the tough fights. But yeah, so it's not. It doesn't have to be on the field for the inspiration from in my mind. It is the get you to that tournament, get you there and prepared.
Yeah, and it's different. It's slightly different for everybody, and that's okay.
Yeah.
White Hand says that we should ask you about the egg game.
I can't remember which book I read it in once, but I read it in one of the sagas, and they had this game where everyone's given an egg. We called it Mother Hen, and so we didn't used to have any rules, but we had to make a couple just because we got a little carried away. But everyone's given an egg, and you have to protect the egg, and it's your egg. You're the mother hen for that egg, and when your egg is broken, you're out. You're done. So last one's an egg unbroken, you win. And so for years and years, I ran that game over and over and over, and people were playing it. And I kept on trying to explain to them. I said, "You guys aren't getting it. There are no rules other than we had to make a rule that you had to keep it on your body because people were hiding it, and then it became an Easter egg hunt. So you had to keep the egg on your body, and you had to stay within the confined area. But other than that, there were no rules, and people weren't catching on. So for finally, after years and years of running it, I said, okay, this year I want someone else to run it. I want to, play the game. I want to show you how to play the game. So when it came my turn, I went out there and we got ready, and I pulled out a ball, to take my shirt off, and I brought out a bottle of baby oil and I oil up. And the guy was looking at me going, "You guys don't know how to play this game," and I'm covering myself in oil. And then I get there and they go to hand me an egg, and Luther was running it, and he opens up this thing and he's got brown eggs. Well, and he had 2 cartons of eggs, and one of them were brown eggs, and he's trying to give me this brown egg. I went, no, I don't want a brown egg. That's bad luck. I don't want a brown egg. No. And he kept insisting, and finally I said, oh, then I'm not going to play. So he finally gave me a brown egg. I went, sorry, a white egg. And so I take that white egg and I stuffed it down my pants, and then I knock and say, I'm wearing a jock, and I knock on my jock, and I pretend I stuffed the egg into my jock. And then everyone's looking at me, and I went, oh, maybe that's not a good idea. And then I reach in with my other hand and pull out the egg, and then we play the game, and people get knocked out here and there. There's wrestling and people kicking your hand and that. So finally, at one point, the egg gets knocked out of my hand and goes flying in the air, 20 feet in the air, and it hits the ground and bounces 2 or 3 times. And I kind of look at it, and people are holding me back, and I'm trying to get to my egg to grab it and protect it. And somebody finally gets over to it, and they start stomping on it, and it won't break. And then they pick it up, and it's a wooden egg. And they were like, "What's this?" And I reached down and I pulled out the real egg. I had a decoy. And I said, "I told you there's no rules." So then we went from there. And so at that point, it got down so there's only 2 of us left. And there's this young guy. His name was Matt, and he's big. He's very fit, 250 pounder. Big strong guy and very fit. And I'm puffing like a steam engine. I'm exhausted. And there's just no way I'm going to beat this guy. He's coming at me, and he's going to get my egg. So before he gets a chance, I take my egg and I throw it and I smash it on his forehead. And he's covered in all the egg. And I look, and he's you can see this little bit of anger comes in his eyes, and I'm going, "You win, you win." And it was
But who really won there?
Yeah, exactly, but it's just a fun game,
I think we might have done that in health class in like junior high. Like we had to take care of an egg. I don't know. That's funny though. So was it like timed? Like you guys had like a timed thing?
No, we didn't have a time, but a couple times we had to make an Eric, so keep them in an area. And we had a couple times it was getting too good, so we just kept making the Eric smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. That's so otherwise. And the other fun game we had at Odin's is we want to be inclusive. We want to include everybody. It's a big Viking event, but we don't want to exclude anybody. So those guys with the funny names and the long skinny swords, we wanted to include them. So we had a long skinny sword tournament too, as well. They're separate. But I wouldn't make my heralds, my skalds, try to say those stupid names, so they all had to have a Norse name. And if they didn't have one, we'd give them one, So, Godfrey came up with his, and he was Thorfrey. So I thought that was pretty clever. But, other people, they don't have a name. So we said, well, okay, we'll give him a name. So we'll consult the book, and get a name. So I'm thinking, okay. So we pull out an IKEA catalog. And we go Odin, and we thumb through it, and then we put a hand down and come up with a name, and and so we come up, and you can be orange swivel chair, kind of thing. But so during my last reign, we were go visiting up one of the smaller groups that are outside areas that don't get visited by that much royalty there very often. And there was a guy that was needing an award of arms, and Leoder was their seneschal, and he had this guy recommended for an award of arms, and he'd been playing long enough, but he still didn't have a name. And Leoder kept asking him if he had a name, and so no, and he says, I got this guy we want to give an award of arms to, but he doesn't have a name yet. And I said, oh, no problem, I'll take care of that, So we consulted the book and came up with a name, and so we're having court, and we call out Yavinsky. I think it was Yavinsky. Oh, I can't remember. I practiced it the other day trying to remember it. but I'm pretty sure Vinsky was his first name. And so we calling it the same, and nobody's coming up and nobody's coming out. And then I said, Leota, can you go get him? And he goes, oh, sure. So he gets up and goes out, and he goes to this older gentleman that was there, and he says, I told you should have picked a name, and pulls him up, and we give him or the Board of Arms, and and it was and then we showed him how we consulted the name, then he got his name out of the book, and with divine intervention, and the guy liked the name so much. With slight alterations, he was able to make it pass. So that's his name now.
Wow.
So we had fun with that. But
So
yeah, again, that's just typical Odin. So we just play all the different little games.
That's cool. That's super cool.
Good shenanigans. I love it. Do you want to do a final 10?
I can do a final 10, sure.
Okay.
What event have you never gone to that you would like to go to?
Penzig.
Penzig?
I had a
Never been
choice
to a
when we
Penzig?
were never been to Penzig. I had a choice when we were with Prince. They said, okay, you can, you've got money in the travel fund, you can go somewhere. And, and Penzig and Gulf Wars were both during my reign, one at the beginning, one at the end. And so, but yeah, I really couldn't go to both, so I asked Wayne, and Wayne goes, Penzig, you got to go to it, you got to see it. However, if you want to have fun, go to Gulf Wars. So I chose Gulf Wars, and I don't regret it. I mean, Gulf Wars was incredible. I probably the best event I've ever been to. I just had so much fun. And I honestly don't think I had so much fun just because we were Prince and Princess. I mean, that always makes a big bonus. But the Southern hospitality is a real thing, and it was unbelievable. We went there, and I think we didn't buy a single dinner. We were invited out for dinner here, there, and everywhere. And most of the invitations wasn't just for us as royalty. It was like to the entire retinue. Everybody, come on along. Tonight's Trimaris' chili off. Come on, in here. We went to Middle Kingdom's meat court. And they provided everything right down to the tankard you got to take home as a souvenir.
We had a
free beer
meat court?
Meat court, yeah. And they have court and eat meat. So it sounded like a lot of fun, and it was fun. It was really good. And there was entertainment in between. They were fencing with pool noodles and those touch lights. So you put a touch light on you, and they have to turn it off, and with a pool noodle. It was quite entertaining. Alora did very well at that. Yeah.
Wow. The next person I talk to from the middle, I'm going to ask them about a meat court. Because, wow. Yeah. Okay. If you could fight anyone in the world, who would it be?
My fights probably enjoyed the most, and that was against Torgal. Torgal was always my most enjoyable fight, and to get him back in armor again, I would love it. I know we're all crippled old men, but he was, to me, he was just a step above everybody else. I mean, fighting has improved so much over the years, and everybody's gotten so much better. And would Torgal be that way today? Yeah, knowing him as a person, he would still be there. He was just that one step above everybody. He was
part of it's like the legend too. Like the legend gives you bonus points just stepping on the field.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, I died to Thorn one time in a crown tournament. He didn't hit me, but I did a really stupid move, and I was so wide open. I'm sure he would have hit me. So I just sort of rolled over dead. And then and they realized after I'm dead, and the heralds have already announced it, that, I don't think I actually got hit. But I was so wide open. I had done some goofy move and was just waiting to get hit, and cringed and went over. But yeah, so it's there because I was just dying to the legend.
Awesome. Who would you like to see reign in your kingdom?
Oh yeah, that's easy. Ulfgar. I mean, he if any other kingdom, he'd be a duke. I think he's long overdue, and he'd be, a great king.
What is your favorite medieval-esque or period movie?
I have a movie that actually it was sort of required watching for a lot of my squires, kind of thing. There's an old 1965, I think, ish, called The Warlord. Charlton Heston and Richard Boone. And in there, Richard Boone plays Boris, and Boris is in my mind, the perfect squire. He'll grumble and complain, but he'll do exactly what he's told to do. Oh, you're being stupid, but okay. He's, to me, it was like, required watching for a squire. And, um, to me, that watching that movie as a kid was one of the things that had me really interested in the SCA kind of, well, not SCA, but in medieval times.
It set you up to fall in love with the SCA.
Yes. Yeah.
Who are your favorite people to watch fight?
That's a tough one because I mean, Torgal and Dak were always really fun to watch because they were mirror images in one way. They were like this. One was leaning forward, one was leaning back. I mean, Torgal was on the attack and Dak was on the defense, but they were, same form. From the waist up, they were the same. Legs, they were different. But Eric and Torquil used to have fights that went on, and we had one crown tournament where it went on for 45 minutes. The two of them, it's going back and forth. And the round before that happened, before they fought, we were down to the three of us were left. So I had to bye to the finals, I thought. And so Eric had to beat Torquil, and then I'd be in the finals with Eric. And then they went on and they fought for about half an hour. And Torquil won. So all of a sudden, now I had to fight Torquil to get in the finals with Eric. And then I lost to Torquil. And then Eric and Torquil went and fought for, I think 45 minutes, before they, we thought, when they did the next fight, because it was best out of three, we thought the next fight was going to, we need torches for it because it's getting so dark. But the next fight only lasted a few minutes. But the fight before that went on and on and on. They were such an even match.
Do you have a hero or a mentor in the SCA, and if so, who is it?
Well, as I said, I was never squared to anybody, but at the time, if I was able to, and partly because I got knighted too fast to get a chance to get, but and also just geographical distance made it tough. But it would have been either a Thorn or Torgal, and we used to call Thorn, his nickname that we had for him in secret was the Typhoid Mary of chivalry. Everywhere he went, he sort of spread chivalry, kind of stuff. So,
you guys always have the best nicknames for people.
Typhoid Mary. I'm gonna have to use that the next time I see it, Grace.
Yeah, the Typhoid Mary of chivalry.
Like, I have another head, but
yeah.
Does he know about this nickname?
I don't know. I'm not sure.
Okay.
He does now.
He does now. Yep. If you had to recommend one event in your kingdom for someone out of kingdom to go to, what would it be?
Ursula, for sure. It didn't used to be that way, but it's growing into like a, international event. It's almost like Adult Swim kind of thing. I haven't been to that, but I mean, from what I understand. But yeah, that's pretty good. Okay. It's pretty impressive.
Let's see. If you could talk stick with anyone in the world for an hour, who would it be? Torgal. I mean, I said at the beginning there, it seemed like, we didn't get along. We didn't really know each other that well. And I always felt there was something in between us, that didn't, so I never mingled. I was always, peer-feared and scared of him. So we didn't really talk too much. But then later on, when I got knighted, he provided me his chain. I got chain came from Torgal, and at that point I thought, okay, no, we've any differences we had in the past, he's cleared that up. He's given me advice over the years that was good later on. And then when he asked me to join the Varangians, that that was a really proud moment, kind of stuff. I couldn't, there's just no way, would have, turned him down and all kind of stuff. And then we got to go to Estrella War. I remember he was king and he was going around drumming people up to come, getting us to come to the war, and it got me all excited. And so I went to my first inter-kingdom war kind of stuff, and that was awesome. And then we went there and we had the Varangian Guard, and we were all in red cloaks, and we charged this one unit, and we broke the whole army. We had the whole army turned. And there was just 20 to 30 of us. We were a small group, in that group,
but we had such an effect. It was pretty funny. They all had turtle helmets in the front row and chainmail and the round shields, and we thought we were pretty cool, but but we were pretty terrifying, from the effect that we had. It was good. So yeah, but I never really talked stick with Torgal at all, because I was thought we always had a thing between us, or I was, or peer fear between us. So I would really like to have got to know him a lot more and understand his ways of thinking and fighting and that kind of stuff.
He can be a little unapproachable.
Yeah. Well, I still have a bit of that peer fear going on with him, to be honest. But yeah, I have highest respect for him.
Yeah, he's what a master artist and master swordsman he is.
Yeah.
So, if you could change one thing about the SCA, what would it be?
I would try to make it fun again a little bit, by just relaxing some of the rules. I mean, we seem to be too hung up on them a lot, I think. I mean, I don't mean, it's just they just maybe back off a little bit. I remember, like fighter cards. Do we really need a fighter card? I mean, as I said, I used to play a lot of other sports, and in all my years of other sports, I never had anybody come up and ask me if I had my cup on. If I didn't, it was my fault, and it was pretty stupid. And give us a little bit more responsibility for ourselves. I mean, like, oh, you can't fight today because your fighter card expired. Well, what does a fighter card really mean? I mean, it means you're not going to hurt yourself or somebody else. That you don't forget that. That doesn't change. I can understand. Okay, well, you haven't fought for 5 years. Yeah, but the rules haven't changed really in 5 years. Not enough to stop you from being qualified. You might fail armor inspection because now you need this and now you need that, whatever. But you haven't forgotten how to fight. So demanding that you have to have a fighter card and it's expired yesterday and there's nobody here to sign it. That's in my mind, it's ridiculous. Sign a waiver, okay, fine, but that to me that's just a little ridiculous kind of stuff, over the top.
Yeah, sometimes it's
you go to a Crown event and you have to sign 2 waivers. Even though you got your blue card, your membership card, so you show that, but no, you still have to sign the waiver, and then you have to sign a second waiver because we have horses on site. Well, and half the time people signing the waivers, I mean, what are they doing? They're camping. I mean, you're not even fighting. So why do you have to sign a waiver because you want to go camping? You have to sign a waiver anywhere else you go camping? Sign a waiver for fighting? Sure. But I mean, to me, it's, we just let the rules people take over too much in my mind.
I think the SCA might be a little litigation shy.
Yeah, but I mean, you see all these other groups taking off, and that's where these other groups, we're worrying about memberships, and some of these other groups are just, their memberships are huge, and they're getting bigger and bigger every year. And I think it's because they're still staying fun. And I don't know enough to know what I'm talking about here, but I went online one time and saw this LARP group. Some people were telling me that I was a LARPer. I went, oh no, I'm not a LARPer. We do this, and I goes, well, that's what the LARPers do. I said, oh no. So the guy sent me this website to go look at, and it was called Biceline, and it's a LARP group in Quebec, and they're as big as Penzic. I mean, there's 20,000 people there. They have permanent sites and all that kind of stuff, and it's huge. And you're watching these guys fight, and there's guys in there. You can tell, you're looking at them. You can tell that they're SCA people. They're wearing their SCA armor. But then the guy right next to him doesn't have a helmet on, and he's bare chested, and he's fighting. And then okay, well that's kind of a little weird, but okay, but I guess if you're using foam enough swords, nobody's gonna get hurt. And then all of a sudden you see them out there, and there's people shooting arrows, and the rules that we have for our arrows, are really strict. And I mean, they're bows. I don't know what the poundage is, but I'm watching them shoot, and they're flying just as far as our arrows go, and their tips don't look that much different than ours. So, and they don't have anything on bounce back things on the back there. So I'm going like, we have too many. Like what if? How do they manage to do their stuff and we don't? And so, they have they have a lot of fun. So I think we need to keep the fun in it and maybe relax on the rules a little bit.
Yeah, strip it down. Essential stuff.
Yeah. If you don't need the rule, why add a rule if it's not needed? And we seem to have rules for the sake of rules.
Yeah. All right. What'd you say?
No, go ahead.
Are you sure?
Yep.
Okay. Last question. What do you think is the most important trait to become a successful fighter?
Heart. You want to have to, if you want something, just do it. As I said, Wayne's a perfect example. He's a Duke, and how do you become a Duke? Well, he went and made sure he had a job that he could get away every weekend. He made sure he got a job that he could get away on Fridays and not come in on Mondays, maybe. And had a wife that was picked a wife that was into the SCA as well. That so he allows him to do it every weekend. But work and work. I mean, even still, you have to work. And we'd go to every fight practice he'd get to. He'd travel down to Seattle for fight practice from Kamloops, and that's an 8-hour drive. But he'd make sure he stopped there on Mondays on the way home from a tournament, stuff like that. So because I said he doesn't have any natural ability. All his fighting skills are all just trained into him. He never played sports. He's not athletic at all. But he succeeds. White hand, he played around for a long time before he got serious about fighting. But when he finally started getting serious about fighting, he was already an old man. But he just passed through by heart. He tried harder. We have a lot of people nowadays are getting knighted that took 20 years to get, or sometimes even longer. But so we got these the new hot and comers like up and comers like we've always had that get knighted in fairly quick time. And, because they're naturally athletic, and then they have the guys that just work at it, and both are legit, and both of them are, there. Some takes longer than others, but I think almost anybody can get knighted if they really want to. And there's a difference between wanting to and wishing to. If you want to, you work at it and do it. If you wish for it, well, I wish I was a Duke, but but I didn't put the effort in. I didn't have, and part of it, real life comes in, but I didn't have a job where I could do that as much. I raised a family kind of stuff. I had stuff that was going on. So I wish I was a Duke, but did I want to be a Duke? I mean, if I did, I would have made it happen. I would have to work harder and do more. I mean, there's some luck that comes into it, but it's also a lot of you have to put the work in, and if you're willing to put the work in, you can succeed.
Yep. Cool. So thank you very much for talking to us tonight. Your stories were really fun.
Yeah, it was fun. I enjoyed it. It was I had a lot of stuff coming back that I forgot about, memories and stuff like that I hadn't thought about for a long time. And I've been watching the other interviews and really enjoying them too. They're a lot of fun.
Thank you for trusting us with your story.
Yeah.
Oh, no problem. It's really appreciate that you guys are doing this COVID thing, because to be honest, I got kind of excited putting on a costume again tonight. I haven't done it for so long. I did it at Halloween this year in front yard just because I wanted a campfire and hadn't done it in so many years. So long. So it was really good to keep it going.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Thanks everyone for joining us. This weekend, I'm talking to Duke Cirrus from the Outlands. He has the most epic beard ever. And then next Wednesday, Aishaxi and I are going to be talking to Her Excellency Kalja, who is a force of nature. And then on Branch of Laurels,
I can't remember.
Oh.
I think I can't remember, and I don't have that book with me. So.
Somebody really cool makes great art. So tune in on Tuesday. Thank you again, Your Excellency. This was super fun, and thanks everyone for joining us, and we'll see you all next time.
Good night.
Bye-bye.